device, I guess you could say. And Barry, first of all, good morning. And,
Good morning.
And
good morning,
welcome,
Toowoomba.
and welcome to the show. Welcome to Toowoomba. And this little thing called the Fall Buddy, it really impresses me, and in as much as what it can do for people who probably like their independence, older people who like their independence, and but at the same time like to be in touch with the world around them, and more especially those near and dear to them, to keep an eye on them.
That's it. That's really why we sat down and we thought we needed to invent something a bit different from the conventional pendant system. Pendant system's great, but it has certain limitations, and we wanted to find a way to see if we could just make everything a lot more safe and secure for people.
And tell me, what are the basic fundamentals of the device?
Okay, well, we started off with the concept that we wanted to find a way to leave somebody in their home, and if something happened, then help would automatically be called. So we had to find a way to develop a system where they didn't have to press a pendant. They can press their full body pendant if they want, but if they forget to wear it or if they don't have it with them, then we wanted a solution that would allow help to be called quickly and guaranteed to be called. And that was the premise of Full Buddy when we started. But because we were developing some new technology, we decided that we wanted to make it do some other things as well. So, it'll remind you when it's time to take your tablets. It'll even phone somebody if your house gets too hot or too cold, just because it's a dangerous situation. So lots of little things that people need in their daily routines, and this is a way of having somebody in your house without having somebody there all the time.
And tell me, what prompted you to invent this thing? And how did that all come about?
Well, I guess the seed was sown a long time ago, about 40 years ago, and I was a young man, and I went home to see my mum, and when I got there, she'd fallen on the kitchen floor. Unfortunately, I was too late. And as I went through my years, I thought, well, we can get men on the moon. Why is it if somebody falls and collapses? And you hear about it in the paper all the time. Help doesn't get called, and they have a pendant and it's hanging up on the bedside cabinet, or it's by the kitchen sink or somewhere, but it's not where it needs to be when it's really needed. And that's what I wanted to do. So I guess it was from a personal reason, and it was kind of a mission for me to find a solution that would be guaranteed to find a solution, if you know what I mean.
Yes, certainly that would prompt you into trying to find something, wouldn't it? Where you got the idea from?
Really, I used to lie in bed and I used to just think, if we developed something that did this, this, and this, would it work? And as I went through the different ideas, I began to find, I can see a way through this. And I'm not an engineer and I'm not a scientist and I don't write computer programs. But I began to see that there was a way where it might work. I'll tell you a funny story. When I first started my engineering, and as somebody who worked in a bank and worked in offices and all kinds of different jobs, I'm not an engineer. But I thought, well, if I cut the pipes in the house, so I went into the kitchen, I cut the cold water pipes coming into the house, and I put a meter on a sensor, so that if you flush your toilet or you have a cup of tea, then effectively what you're saying is your mum's okay. But unfortunately, I couldn't get the water pressure in the house to be stable enough, so I had to move away from that. So that was my first attempt at making Full Buddy work in some way.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, I guess pressures can go up and down, can't they?
They can, and that was the problem.
Yeah, and the Full Buddy, it's intended for.
Oh my goodness me! Well, really, I wanted it to be for people who are at home alone. It doesn't matter what age they are, but if they're home alone and they're vulnerable. So, it obviously for people who fall. But for people with dementia, for example, it's no good there's no solution for them available currently today. They can't remember to press their pendant because they don't remember what it's for. But also, there's things like Parkinson's disease and diabetes, and people who are young people who have car accidents and brain-acquired injuries and things like that. They get into situations where their life becomes threatened in some way. So we just, all of those areas, I think Full Buddy can really help.
Right. And where's it made in Brisbane?
Yes. We developed it here in Brisbane. I found some great engineers in the city itself. And we've got a factory down in Brisbane, and we're manufacturing it here. We're going to keep it in Australia and do everything we possibly can. It's surprising that there's so little been made in Australia. So I'm really, really passionate about making this to be an Australian product that we can take overseas, and we can actually say Australia's doing something great.
Absolutely, and in like the uses of it, which we've talked about, but are there any other types of programs you'd like to put into it? Is there anything else you'd like to add to it? Or
I think absolutely. You know, it's not a camera. It doesn't watch what you're doing. So that's very important, because the people I work with say I don't want to be watched all the time. But what it does do, because it records all the movements you make, you can actually get a report off this small full body unit, and it'll show how well somebody's moving around during the day. It'll show how well they're eating by how often they go to the fridge. It'll show if they're sleeping well at night time. So you can come back after a week of being away from somebody and say, how did you get on? And they'll always tell you they get on just great. They're doing everything perfectly well. But of course we know that's not the truth. What happens when somebody has a fall is they start to become less active and less, they just start to get frightened of taking chances, like making a cup of tea or going to the bathroom. And we want to see if that's happening. So Full Body can show you that. As by way of, it just gives you a report if you decide to download it and look at it, if you have some concerns. The future of Full Body, I think, is really exciting, because where we can take it with new technology and with the way computers are working, although I don't want it to be a computer, and I don't want the person who uses it to have to wear anything at all. At this point in time, it's a zero-wear solution. So Mum's in her house, she does her normal business, and she's doing what she does normally, and if she has an accident, Full Body steps in and calls for help. It's as simple as that. It calls a neighbour and a friend, so it's actually very much... And one thing I wanted to do as well is the messages that get delivered to Mum to say, take your tablets, or it's time to do this or time to do that, that's recorded by a family member. So your daughter might say to you, Mum, it's time to go to the kitchen and take your tablets. Or, Mum, where are you? I'm a bit worried about you. I haven't seen you for a while. Can you just let me know you're okay by waving your arms about? Or just, if you're not going to be able to do that, then I'm going to phone for help for you now. So it's very much that kind of solution.
And it's not a computer message,
No, and it's not a computer. It's a smart telephone.
Right.
Full Body is a smart telephone. It plugs into a phone line and it plugs into power.
Right.
There's no programming required of it. It doesn't have a keyboard. It's only got help and cancel buttons, really, and it's as simple as that.
Now, does it work just in the home, or can it out in the garden? What's the story there?
Well, people ask that question because it's kind of complicated in much as it's really simple. Full Body will see you going out into the garden, so it might see you going out to hang out the washing at 10:30 in the morning. Well, if you don't come back by 11 o'clock, Full Body's going to say, well, where are you? And I'm worried about you. Can you let me know you're okay? Now, if you've had a tumble and a fall in the garden, and you could be half a mile down the paddock, and Full Body will still phone for help for you. It's about not wearing anything. It's about seeing you coming and going.
That's very impressive. Yeah, I was impressed by it when I had the chance to talk to you.
Thank you.
Originally, and I think that I just asked you in to tell people out there that something like this was available.
Yeah.
And it's just a brilliant invention in my opinion. And
thank you.
Because we wish you all the luck with it, and I'm sure that the inquiry here in Toowoomba, because we do have an older population here.
I've had a great response from Toowoomba. It's lovely to see all the agencies working together, and they're so close. There's this wonderful caring community of organisations and agencies looking after the Toowoomba community. And I have to say, I've been really impressed by how well they work together as groups and teams. And I think that the more vulnerable people in Toowoomba are very privileged to have a great service like that.
Yes, I know. I've noticed that I've been here 15 years now, sort of thing, and over the years I've noticed that very, very close knit in the age community for sure. Barry, look, thank you very much for coming in and telling us all about it.
You're very welcome.
Very impressed by it, and we wish you all the luck with it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let's get back to music now with one from. To every season there is a turn, all that sort of stuff.